Okay, so we know the importance of landing pages, and despite not many marketers actually using those, most I speak to recognise the importance of those. But why is it that they're not using them?
One of the issues can be technical, and it's hard to get these on our site, or they don't work with our site. It's going to take a lot of time from a developer. We don't have that resource, we don't have budget, so we're going to default back to what we can use. It could be we can't get the templates we have on our site are really restrictive, so we can't make changes on our site. So a lot of the time it's budget, time, cost. So budget, time, and technical infrastructure.
Okay, and what are those main technical barriers that you think they face?
So it could be restrictions in terms of the CMS, and when they've built the website, it's been built around a very few templates. That what you see essentially there is what's available, and you can't make changes to add new modules to those pages, or any changes require a developer to implement, and there's a cost that comes with that as well that they don't particularly want to incur. It can be they don't know what tools to use or how to get those tools on the site. They would be the main ones I would look at.
Because restrictions in CMS is not ideal, but there's plenty of tools that can be used to kind of bypass that when we're talking about landing pages, can't they? Like you've got unbounce and you've got a few things like that. Like they make it a lot more accessible. So do you think there's a restriction and a limitation on people's knowledge on what tools are actually available to use?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's all these tools out there, and tools being made specific for certain platforms. So there's a whole host that plugs directly into, say, Shopify. There's tools that are specifically there to work with Magento. So that they are available, but do people know, firstly, what tool to use, and is a tool any good? So there's probably a reticence from people to use something they don't know enough about, but then if they in the first instance, they might not even know they exist, or what should I use? What are my problems, and what's the best for that?
Because there's always a big debate when you look at conversion rate optimization, and that community within there is the ownership of that type of activity, whether that sits with developers or whether that sits with marketers. Now, my belief is it sits a bit halfway in between. You should have a line item in it from a budgetary point of view, sat as next to development. So it's a constant investment as opposed to a marketing cost. But there is a question mark over the ownership of that. Do you think that affects this? Because if there is a limitation with a CMS, then a marketer might not believe that they're the right person to then go and look for a tool. That should be on the development agency or the development team to be able to go and resolve that.
Yeah, but then will a developer understand the requirements that you've got? Should they understand the requirements that you've got? Because they're not going to use the tool. So why should it really be theirs? It's marketing that want to use this, e-commerce that want to use this, so they should have at least be given clear direction of this is what I need it to do and this is how I'm going to use it. The role of the developers in it, they can get it on your site.
Yep.
It's once they've got it on the site, these tools don't need input from them. That's why they've been built that way, to take the requirement for a developer to actually have to build this stuff for you, reduce the cost effort that it's going to be for you to get new sections created, get new templates created, and using this for ways to then reduce your costs of test stuff before you then actually, if you want to implement it on your site and create new templates, fantastic, because if you test it first using these platforms off site, essentially, you will have a higher degree of confidence about what is going to work when you actually brief it into developers, which then becomes more cost effective for you as well.
So what I hear you saying there is the responsibility of where you're sending traffic to, particularly on paid campaigns, is the responsibility of the marketer.
Yeah, I'll stick it with
and so it's the marketer's job to then go, we need a better landing page. Now, how that gets built and the technical restrictions around there, then you'd expect the developer to be able to solve that.
Yeah. Why is it? It's not the developer's job to give you to say we need a better conversion rate. That's the people who are responsible for conversion rate and performance are marketers.
Yep.
So it should sit with them.
talked about kind of CMS restrictions, but what about kind of dev queues? Because every business has got either a dev agency that they're working on. They might have a specific retainer. They might have a dev team that are working on other things. There's lots of things that are happening within a business. How can you get your work from a landing page or an A/B testing activity prioritized and kind of bypass those? Because what you don't want to do is brief something in and get it 6 months later and your campaign's been and gone.
Yeah, that's why we use landing page builders, these tools, because a simple bit of code that you can put on your site through Tag Manager, again, doesn't really need any developer input, just needs someone who knows how to use the Tag Manager platform. They can upload that code onto there, test out fires, you now have access to your landing page tool. So you can do that in literally minutes. The platforms will give you all the instructions of how you do it. So you don't need a developer to do that. So what this means is you bypass that whole queue, but then once you have built the pages, tested, seen what works, there may be stuff that you want to then build natively into your platform. And I'd always recommend, once you know what works, build it natively into your platform, because it will perform better. Because you're calling a piece of code to then get someone to appear on your site, and that can take time.
Yeah.
If you have it on your platform, it'll be quicker.
Yeah.
If it's quicker, people like that more. People stick around.
You're very much looking at kind of quick testing, aren't you?
Exactly. So these landing pages, it's a way for you to test something and find out what works for you to then go, to build a business case essentially, to then go, we now should invest in this. And whilst it's taking the time, it might take you months for it to go through a dev queue, you can still run it through your landing page tester. And then you move it across.
Well, I suppose when you're running it and you're testing it, you kind of see the impact, don't you? So, you run introducing your landing page for one of your products. You've got a Shopify store. You can integrate that quite seamlessly, and that's giving you 50% better sales. You can put a monetary figure on that. That makes it very easy to have that conversation with anyone in the business or anyone in the dev queue and say, well, actually, all these 3 things there, we don't know what impact that's going to have on business. But if we implement this, we're going to get 50% more sales as soon as you do it. Yeah. It allows it raises the importance.
Exactly. If you are looking at prioritization of tasks, are you going to implement something that will have has been proven to have a direct monetary uplift, or stick it behind a couple of tasks where the nice to haves that might have an impact or aren't even connected to bottom line?
Yeah, you do the same for A/B testing as well, can't you? So implement VWO, Optimizely, anything like that, run the test, it's working, then you've got a business case that goes straight through to the dev queue to say, look, the sooner we implement this, the sooner we make more money.
Yeah, it goes straight through to them, and it gives you a stronger position when it comes to those meetings to discuss prioritization. I know that this task here drives a 50% uplift in revenue. It's a no-brainer why that one wouldn't go further up the list.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously when we're running tests, we're implementing landing pages, we're relying on the results that we're getting to be able to prioritize and get those implemented. That places a really high importance on getting it all synced up properly with the right analytics in terms of whether you're using GFR, whether you've got a CRM or anything like that. How important is that to be able to drive continuous success in terms of integrating those tools?
For the long term, yeah, it's important, because you need to be able to say confidently, this has worked. If that's going to be a roadblock in the short term, look at what it actually needs to be connected to get you started. So a example of that could be with a landing page builder. Within their platform, they will report on the performance of your landing page in terms of clicks, conversions, conversion rates, and so on, revenue. So they can actually tell you all of that so you can then look at that and go, how does that compare against my page that is connected up in GA or whatever? Or you can then, if you run it through a VWO, a A/B testing platform, you can set it up after the click on there. So then that platform can then actually report on the performance of the 2 of them together.
Yep.
So then you can actually go, does landing page work better than product page? So, and then you then use that to get started. And then you go, look, this is working. We now need to connect it up to this, this, and this. How do we go about doing that?
So you don't actually have to integrate it with everything, do you?
Don't have to. No.
It's just about what you're testing. Yeah. So if you're introducing a landing page that is designed to drive more more downloads of a white paper, for example, is you just track that. You see how many people are clicking that button to download.
If you want to, in the crudest form, track one very simple metric, you don't need to connect it to everything. If you have a complex user journey and you want to be able to see the impact of the lead that came through and what happens to that lead, yeah, it's going to need to be connected up to, or you're going to need to find a way to manually report on that group of leads and what actually happened to them.
Yeah. And we've talked about testing, we've not really kind of said the importance of testing, but why wouldn't you just build a landing page and just set it live? You know, why wouldn't you do that?
Because you don't know it works. You want to be able to understand the impact of the change that you've made. So what's to say that the day you put a landing page live, there wasn't some external factor that gave people more reason to buy? Could be the budget, and people also know inflation dropped at the same time. It's, you know, unlikely, but these factors can influence conversion performance. It could be you launched the landing page ahead of Black Friday where seasonal intent increases. So automatically you would then be looking at going, hang on, this is performing way better than what we used to have. But it's a different type of intent you get from a user at that time. So it's not a fair test. Run it side by side against it, you can see exactly at that time period from exactly the same traffic source, the difference in performance.
Yeah, it makes it much more valid, doesn't it?
Exactly, you can trust the data.
And in terms of traffic volume, does that impact that?
It does, to an extent. I mean, you could work it off smaller volumes and start to get an understanding of, is it working? The more data you get, the more robust and more trust you can place in the data that you have.
Okay, so company gets past the initial kind of technical barriers, starts implementing landing pages, testing those, starts to see success. What's the biggest operational or technical challenge in terms of being able to scale that, in terms of rolling out more landing pages? You know, if you've got an e-com store with 1,000 SKUs, are you going to create 1,000 landing pages?
It comes down to traffic, because if you don't have enough traffic, you shouldn't be sending people to a whole host of different pages, because you're never going to get the learnings from them. So that's the first place I look at. Then you look at, can I do this? How many SKUs have we got as a business? How many services has a business that focuses on leads got? Because if you look at that and go, we've got 4,000 SKUs. Manually, that's a pretty tough ask to create 4,000 specific landing pages.
Yep.
So that's where what I would look at is, which are your hero products? Which are the most profitable products that you've got? Which have the highest level of demand? Focus on them and give them your gold standard landing page, because that will have the bigger impact on your business.
I think that's a really key point. I think the more you tie landing pages to your hero campaigns, you know, your hero products, your hero services, the easier it becomes to be able to drive that success from them.
Yeah.
It's not about trying to apply a landing page to every single route that someone could take to your website and then make a purchase or inquiry.
No, it's, to be honest, where are you spending the most?
Yeah.
Like if you're spending 50% of your budget on this specific SKU, you should probably put more focus on that one than one that's getting 2% of your spend, because that's going to have a bigger impact on you and your marketing from an efficiency point of view, and ultimately that will drive you more sales.
Yeah. And what's been the biggest reason you've seen why landing pages don't get put live, or what delays them in kind of getting live?
The main one's time and planning, because a lot of people will be reactive with the campaigns that they've got, and it could be, so let's take a Black Friday as an example. You should have specific campaign pages for this. But if you haven't sorted out what offers you're going to run for Black Friday until early November, you don't really have time to create these pages, because you're spending your time building the creatives. I just need to send it somewhere. So it gets lost in the shuffle. So that is probably the main one for me. What I probably also look at is, it's too hard basket. Oh, I can just send you to the website anyway. Let's just do that. So a bit of planning makes these all the more impactful for you.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And so with AI and personalization used to be a big thing, you know, several years ago in kind of conversion and the paid space, and it's not as popular as in recent years. But do you think kind of that changing and that landscape changing a little bit more with all the tools that are coming out and the advancement of AI?
I mean, how much do you need personalization? I mean, Amazon, people don't need to personalize to that level at all. If we look at where the majority of your spend is going, you have a pretty good idea of who they are, what they've been doing, and what they know to get there, based on how they've searched, the channel they've come through, or the creative and the campaign that they've clicked on. That to me is for the vast majority of businesses, is more than enough information to be able to personalize it, if that's what people want to call it. For me, it's giving them a landing page or a place to go to that just meets the needs of where they are, going back to what they know about you as a business and what they know about the problem that they're trying to solve.
Yeah, I think the word personalization is overused when it comes to this sort of stuff, because it's just about tailoring a campaign. You know, if you've got your targeting, if you're planning a campaign, you know exactly who you're targeting, you know why you're targeting them, and you know what you're targeting them with. So you have creative that matches that. Your media buy-in is determined by that, whether they're more on TikTok or Facebook, and then your landing page is planned in line with that as well. That's the personalization that you've got.
For me, look at it this way. You go, the personalization is like one-to-one. You are the only person getting this specific response from this brand. Then you have the one-to-many. That's landing people on your homepage. Everyone's going to this and getting this experience and going to figure out what you need. For me, a landing page is the happy medium. It's bringing people down to smaller groups of one to few, where you've got a smaller group of people with the same problem in the similar situation, and so you can create more responses for smaller groups of people than having to go all the way to hyper personalization of this is exactly you, and you are the only person getting this response or this treatment, if you like.
Yeah. Okay. So if a business wants to improve their landing page capabilities, what's the next step? What's the first step they should do?
Firstly, check to see what you can do with your existing templates. Do you have the ability to make changes quite easily to existing templates within the set that you have? And then if not, or if you don't really want to go down that line because it requires dev time or technical skills, I'd find the landing page tool that's right for the platform that you're using, and then look at how you can get one of those on your site.
Cool. Brilliant. Thanks very much, Andy.
No worries.